Hello everyone, welcome back to the Boudoir. I hope you are having a great day so far, a great Tuesday, a great week. Whenever you are watching this, I just hope you are having a nice day. Here on this podcast, we talk about all things self-improvement, glow-ups, level-ups, growing pains, everything that I just feel like talking about. So if that's your thing, definitely feel free to subscribe. But I mentioned before that on this podcast, we talk a lot about self-improvement. And speaking of self-improvement, okay, there's been a little bit of a tiff on the TikTok streets, okay? The girls are getting a little fed up with the level up, the glow up, how to be your best self, all of this aspirational, you're doing something wrong, here's how you can improve it type of content. There seems to be this sentiment that maybe we're getting a little too into the level up, fixer-upper personality type of content. Some people are bringing up very valid points, and I thought that maybe since I do post that type of content, although I will say in my case, I never claim to come from a place of I know everything, I live a perfect life. A lot of the time, the podcast episodes that I post are things that I need to hear myself. Sometimes I'll go back and watch my own stuff. If I feel like I'm going through something and I'm what do I do? Sometimes I can just go back to my old stuff and I can learn. I feel like there's nobody ever fully has it together. Nobody fully knows everything. And if there's anybody that's claiming to know it all, have all the answers, they don't. We're all doing life for the first time, you know? Some people are more savvy in certain areas. Some people are not. Some people take it upon themselves to get on a platform and talk about the things that they've done to improve their life. I think it's great that we have this opportunity to share our tips and tricks with our fellow ladies and just help each other. I don't think that it being on social media makes it any different from doing this in real life. If you think about things like sleepovers and brunches and hanging out with your friends, these are the types of conversations I have with my friends in real life. We're always looking to better ourselves, pour into ourselves, and we're always just looking for ways to make life better and get closer to how we see ourselves living our dream life. Think about it, life is so long, we're so young and we have all of this life to live, and it's all about, to me anyway, building the foundation for what you want your life to look like. What is the landscape of what you want your life to look like? You have a whole life to live and you don't have to have all the answers now. I think maybe people feel like they get a little overwhelmed and they feel like they have to have all the answers, and it can get overwhelming at times, especially if you're going through tough moments in life, maybe a weight loss, breakups, you don't know how to navigate that and you don't have the tools. It can be very scary, but luckily we have things like level up content, glow up content, advice, where people can share their life experiences and help others hopefully through that. But is there a dark side to glow up content? Is there a dark side to this aspirational, here's how to fix your life type of content? We're going to talk about that. Now, here's how this first part's going to go. I'm going to list one of the common cons that people have been talking about against the glow up content, and then I'm going to come in with my own little opinion against that and kind of do a debate style, but against myself type of presentation flow. You get me? It'll make sense as I go on. So as I was doing my research for this video, a lot of the sentiment that I saw mainly surrounded the fact that when you have a bunch of people in your face, Wizard Liz, Shira7, all of these people that make this type of content, when you have all these people screaming in your face, here's how to be feminine, you're not feminine enough, you're too masculine, here's how to glow up, here's all the procedures you need, here's the top 10 beauty products, everybody that's just shouting at you, and it feels like it's just overwhelming because you're just in this information overflow, and it can be very overwhelming. And you know how TikTok works, you know how YouTube works, you interact with something once, then you're inundated with all of this type of stuff no matter where you go. It can be a lot, you know? And when you're seeing these people say here's how to improve in this area, here's how you fix this, here's how you do that, it's when are you ever truly satisfied with yourself? Is there ever a point where you're gonna feel you do all of these improvements and you can finally stop and say, I love myself, I'm happy with where I'm at, I don't need to fix anything else? And the people that are tired of this type of content feel there's this underwhelming or underlying rather feeling of hatred for yourself, or you hate the past version of yourself so badly that you're doing everything you can to escape that. But if you ask me, in my opinion, I feel you can love yourself and still want to improve certain areas of your life. When I look at it for myself, if I notice that there's an area of my life that I'm not completely satisfied with, I don't look at it from a place of oh my god, I'm such a failure, why don't I have X, Y, and Z? Now, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I have bad days and it just feels everything's crashing down. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie and say that I don't feel inadequate sometimes. I'm a human human. But when I catch myself having those feelings, I recognize that you can love yourself enough to change whatever you want to change. It doesn't have to necessarily come from a place of like self-hatred or a place of negativity. Like you can actually transmute that energy and be like, listen, I know that maybe I'm not happy with my career right now. I want to work for myself. You can love yourself so much. You can have so much confidence and like trust within yourself to get up and read those entrepreneurial books, to read more about finance, to expand your skill set, to read more books that will get you to the point where you want to be. I don't think that's self-hatred. If anything, that's self-love. That's like, I see a future for myself. I see a better tomorrow for myself, to the point where I'm going to do what I can today to make tomorrow 1 inch closer to where I want to be. I happen to think that that's very positive. That to me is self-love, like the discipline, the structure of setting up a routine that gets you to where you want to go. To me, that's taking control of what you have control over. We don't have control over everything in life, right? Like it's so easy to get sucked up in that, like, I need to have control over every aspect. You can't control your finances completely. Like you can to a certain extent, but like life happens. All you can do is just set yourself up as best you can. Maybe you don't like your weight right now, or maybe you don't feel comfortable in your body right now. That doesn't mean you have to hate yourself and be like, oh, I'm such a failure. Why did I eat like this? Why did I do X, Y, and Z? You can say, I want to take care of my joints. I want to feel good. I want to get my cardio up. Like to me, that is self-love. Like the ability to get up, do something you're not necessarily comfortable with in the moment. You may not want to do that, but you love yourself so much that you're going to push yourself and put yourself in an uncomfortable situation that you know will ultimately be good for you in the long run. You may not see it right now because it's something that's so foreign to you, but eventually your body is going to thank you for that. So I don't think not being satisfied with yourself in the moment or a certain area of your life necessarily has to be a bad thing. I think you can turn that into something positive and not, dwell in it and feel like you can't make any moves towards it. And also to the point of saying like you have so much hatred for your past self, I don't think it necessarily has to be hatred, but I also don't think there's anything wrong with disliking some of your past behaviors or some of the ways you went about certain things, some of the ways you went about relationships, some of the ways you went about friendships. Like if you recognize something within yourself that can be evolved and can be fixed, like maybe you're not always the nicest, maybe you're not always as receptive to making friends or like being open-minded, or you're just behaving in ways that aren't conducive to your success. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with saying the way I was living in this moment didn't work for me, so I'm going to change it and I'm going to do something and see how this works. It's okay to do that. There's this secret form of perfectionism that not many people talk about, where it's almost like you're pedestalizing yourself. I'm so perfect. How could I ever be capable of making a mistake? Like, oh my God, no. But those same people are able to dislike certain traits in others, but oh no, not them. I can never do anything that's wrong. It's either I like myself or I hate myself. Like there's no room for like nuance or gray area. It's very sneaky. If you blink, you'll miss it. It takes a level of emotional intelligence to be able to look at yourself objectively and be like, look, maybe I'm not necessarily great in this area of life. Maybe this personality trait isn't very palatable and it's not getting me results that I want. What can I do to like improve myself? What can I do in this area to make life a little easier for myself, a little more enjoyable? That type of open-mindedness and objectivity is going to get you far. Being able to go back to the drawing board and make little corrections where necessary is a form of self-love to me. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely extremes and people can take it way too far, and we will talk about it as we get into this episode. But a lot of this point of like you hate yourself, you want to change everything, I don't think it necessarily has to be looked at from that point of view. I think you can look at it from a different perspective, like a more positive perspective. I've also seen the argument of saying that a lot of this glow up content promotes consumerism, spending a lot of money that people aren't really being transparent about how they're getting, and that is completely true. There is an element of privilege there of being able to go get your nails done every 2 weeks and get your toes done and get your hair done, lashes, all of these things that like makes you a feminine woman or whatever. Getting into these elevated spaces takes, knowing somebody who knows somebody. People aren't always being very transparent in those things. They will tell you to network. They will tell you to expand your contact list and get into those rooms, but they're not spoon feeding every piece of information, especially with the finances. A lot of people were not taught finances by their family, unfortunately, so we're doing all of this by scratch and it can be hard. But to that I say, you're just not looking hard enough. Like there are plenty of budget baddies out there who will give you all of the tea you need on how to look good on a budget. Getting press-on nails for like $10, learning how to do your hair at home. Is it tedious? Is it a lot? Can you learn how to like cut corners in certain areas to get it? Yeah, that's me, because I'm not a hair girly at all. Trust me, I am not a hair girly. I can do my makeup, I can do my nails, I can do pretty much everything, facials at home. I cannot do my hair. I'm sorry. I don't want to. I don't have the patience. I think limiting beliefs also plays a part in that too, because trust me, the content you want is out there. You just gotta search for it. And while there might be a lot of like luxury, rich girl, whatever, like hustle, grind content, there's also content that will work for you and that will make you feel good. You just gotta find it. You gotta find people that work for you. And the last point I did want to touch on is I did want to be fair and definitely say that there is a downside to being an overachiever and being a perfectionist. Depression can come from that. Like if you feel like you're not reaching those goals, if you feel like you're supposed to be at a certain point by age, blah, 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 I'm supposed to have X, Y, and Z, and you don't have X, Y, and Z by that age, that can make you feel feelings of shame, inadequacy, worthless. Perfectionism can also breed procrastination. You feel like there's so much pressure to do whatever you want in your mind. You know it takes a lot of work and you won't even go for it because it's such a big responsibility. Even things like imposter syndrome, like wanting so much for yourself, it can make you feel like you're not worthy of it. You're not worthy of the success that would come with that dream life. You feel like you don't have the skill set to have that dream life, or even if you have it, you don't feel like you deserve it. So it can be a lot. Like being an overachiever, you know, there's good things with that. It can make you very ambitious. It can make you achieve a lot of your goals. It can make you, you know, have a very nice cushy life. But at the same time, like there is a dark side to that and carrying the weight of all of those dreams. So I think that, you know, in this conversation, we definitely do have to be fair and like talk about that type of thing. I've definitely experienced the dark side of being an overachiever, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, procrastination. So I wanted to talk about this creator Jody because she actually does a lot of glow up content, and I actually got inspired to do this podcast episode because of her. Someone was hey, I'm not a part of this, but someone was kind of like, I guess, you know, talking generally about glow up content, and her name kind of came up in the conversation, and she just wanted to like state her little piece. And so I wanted to share some screenshots from her TikTok because she brought up a lot of things that, you know, if you feel like you're triggered from this type of content, these could be the reasons why. So I'm going to read them directly. The first one is fear. You might not like glow up content because of fear of being afraid to fail. And we kind of talked about that. You hold your dreams to such a high regard and a high standard that you don't want to go for it because you're scared of failing or not living up to the standards that you set. And so you don't even go for it because you're scared of failing and not achieving what you want. And she also mentioned that some people view their failures as a reflection of themselves. We kind of talked about that in the beginning, where you see like a flaw within yourself as something to hate, whereas it's something that you can take and transmute into something good for yourself. And I say flaw very loosely. I'm just saying it in the sense of like an area that you want to improve, like maybe your diet. Maybe you know that you eat fast food one too many times throughout the week, and you just know objectively that you want to eat more fiber and more vegetables. That's what I'm talking about. It's not like, oh my god, I'm such an idiot, why am I eating like this? It's what can I do to give my body the nutrients it needs? It's all about transmuting, just flipping that mindset. Failure is actually an opportunity to learn. It's not about internalizing it and making it about a moral failing on your part. How can you learn and do better for the future? Number 2 is that you are addicted to comfort. We have talked about this before on this podcast. It is so easy to be addicted to comfort. Laying in that bed, scrolling on that phone. It is so easy to do. Trust me, we've all been there, okay? Number 3 is that you are a chronic incompleter or perpetual starter. You start a lot of projects, but you never finish them. When you have too much going on and you have your hand in too many different plates, you have to choose your heart. You have to choose what you would rather sacrifice. Number 4 is that you have too much pride. You feel like, you know, I'm perfect the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. And yes, of course, you are perfect the way you are. Like you're perfect because you are, period, because you exist. But, and however, there's something to be said about being triggered by glow up content. It's like, why is that? There's something to think about. Food for thought. So I think that with self-improvement content, it always has to go through a lens of self-love. Instead of forcing yourself to do something because you feel like you have to, you start doing it because you want to and you genuinely want to do this for yourself. So you're not forcing yourself to read just because you feel like you have to read and people told you that you need to read to be smarter, but you're reading because you're genuinely curious about certain topics and you just want to expand your skill set. You're not forcing yourself to go to the gym because you're such a whale and blah, 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 whatever you're saying about yourself. You're going to the gym because it's good for your bones and your joints. It's good for your heart. It's good for your health. And because you genuinely want to. So again, it's all about that mindset. And it's also all about radical self-acceptance, which means accepting yourself at the point that you're at right now. You are whole as you are. And just because you consume glow up content or you partake in that type of lifestyle, it doesn't mean you don't like yourself as you are. I think the disconnect comes from doing it from a place of shame or guilt. You can transmute those types of feelings and turn that into nourishment and love for yourself and your body. And I also think that there can maybe be a form of like feeling shame for wanting more for yourself. I mean, think about it. Like, we're socialized to feel like, oh no, we need to be demure, no pun intended, but like we need to be demure. We can't ask for too much. Like, we gotta just sit there and take whatever slop we're given. Like, no, it's okay to want more for yourself. And that doesn't just mean like in a relationship or money or whatever. That means maybe you want a better quality of life for yourself. You want a better daily routine for yourself. That doesn't mean you hate yourself. That means you actually love yourself enough to get those things for you and make it happen. It's not just about manifesting bags and shoes and, you know, the luxury apartments. It's about manifesting a lifestyle for yourself that you're genuinely happy with and that you can maintain until you're ready for something different, until you're ready for a change. And wanting a change is not a bad thing. In fact, life is meant to be explored. Like, you're meant to explore different areas. Like, think about all of the phases you went through in your life. Like, I had a Twilight phase, I had a wrestling phase, I had so many different little like seasons in my life, Instagram baddie, whatever the case may be, like so many different ebbs and flows, and like I still don't know where I'm heading, and that's the beauty of life. But all you can do is nourish yourself in the moment and do things that are going to set you up for success and doing what you can with what you have now. Now, like we said, you know, some glow up content can go way too far, and it can even lead into things like ED content or like just overly critical, overly harsh, some of that Wanyongism stuff where it's just people being nasty and mean to themselves and in turn to others. You can't speak to yourself like that. Like, that's never going to work. It's never going to last long term. If you're doing things out of hatred and you're doing things out of spite, you're going to get those types of results. But if you do things out of love, if you do things out of care, out of nourishment, you're going to get those types of results. So you just got to think about it like that. If you ask me, self-improvement content does more good than harm. I think that having all of these different types of perspectives and hearing how people get through things is great. Can it get overwhelming at times? Of course. And that's definitely time for you to like use your blocks, use your muted words, you know, tailor your algorithm how you need to, or just simply scroll past. You know, we don't have to interact with everything we see, but I think that you just have to have discernment with who you're getting your advice from, what types of content you're consuming, and what the underlying message is. If it makes you feel genuinely icky after you're done watching a video, that might not be for you. But just because it's not for you doesn't mean it's not for somebody else or it doesn't work for themselves. So it's just all about watching and consuming what you can morally align yourself with. And also, if something triggers you, that's your opportunity to look inward and ask yourself why. Because you might hate that now, but you might look back a couple months later and be like, you know what, actually, I just wasn't ready to hear that message, but they were actually right. I've done that so many times with different people. You just might not be ready to hear that message, and that's totally fine. That's what the glow up is all about. You do it when you're ready, and it's always there for you. It's not about your life being bad right now. It's just, how do you want your days to look overall, and what is the type of lifestyle you want to live. I hope that my podcast, The Boudoir, can help you celebrate yourself even through the growing pains. Like, again, life isn't always sweet. Like, things happen. Sometimes you do need to hear advice from other people, and I hope I can help you, but I sometimes need to hear my own advice, or sometimes I need to watch other people who know more about me in certain situations, and I can like report that knowledge back to you guys or just apply it to my own life. But that's what it's all about. Like, it's supposed to be a community of helping one another and loving yourself authentically and out loud and truthfully. And once again, I just want to reiterate, if any content is making you feel like you're lacking something inside, even my content, like if any of my stuff ever makes you feel like you're inadequate, like find what works for you. Like, find your tribe, find your people. If it doesn't align with you, then it doesn't have to be your lifestyle. Someone shouldn't yuck your yum, and you shouldn't yuck somebody else's yum, you know? Everybody can coexist. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you are listening to me on Spotify or Apple, make sure you rate me 5 stars. Let me know what other topics you guys want me to cover on the podcast, and I will talk to you guys next Tuesday. Bye.